Maria Malay and Jennifer Ra.
How are you? Hi. Can I start without you giving it to them? Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Maria Malay. I'm here as a parent of 2 preschool-aged children not yet in the public school system in our town, Rutherford, New Jersey. I am currently one of the many residents of New Jersey who's against Common Core and the PARCC testing. Because of Common Core and the PARCC, I am considering having my children attend our local private school, and that's sad. It's sad to me because I am a supporter of public education. I am here to give you my personal concerns regarding the PARCC. My first concern is the total disruption of instructional time due to the weeks of testing that will occur twice in the school year. 3 weeks for the first round, which will begin in March, and another 3 weeks for the second round. I am aware that high-stakes testing is nothing new in New Jersey, but this test is very different. At the high school level, before the PARCC, there was the HESPA. The HESPA took 3 days and only occurred during one school year, junior year. The PARCC is given twice a year for 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. That sounds like a waste of precious learning time to me. I know of high schools in this state that are scheduling delayed openings or early dismissals on test days, which will result in shorter instructional time for everyone. My second concern is that this test is a poor measure of teaching ability. Why? Because you will only be looking at data, not the individual student, which has nothing to do with the teacher. You can be the best teacher in the world, but you can have hungry students, depressed students, or intellectually challenged students. It's also a poor measure of student performance, especially for students with learning disabilities, for those who live in poverty, and for those who face other educational challenges. Furthermore, these tests are now linked to teacher evaluations or will be in the near future. It is certainly understandable that teachers are now teaching to the test, and that's a fact. Fostering the creativity of each individual child is no longer a priority or even on the educational agenda. How do I know this? I have many friends who are teachers, I work in a school, and I have 2 nephews and a niece who range from 4th grade to 9th grade. The anxiety my younger niece and nephew feel over this test is disturbing. Not only are their teachers teaching to the test, but they are also using a lot of time to teach students, especially at the younger grades, to use a computer for the PARCC test. There is so much outcry over these tests that it's really hard to understand why we are not being heard. I'm not sure if any of you had the chance to read the open letter that a parent wrote to President Obama. Valerie Strauss, the mother who wrote the letter, illustrated the main differences between her 7th grade daughter and President Obama's 7th grade daughter, Sasha. Sasha attends private school and Valerie's attends public school. Strauss pointed out that her daughter is an excellent student and an avid reader. When her daughter took a 7th grade practice test, some of the things she said to her mom were, "This test is crazy. This is a stupid, impossible test. This makes no sense." Strauss ended the letter by asking President Obama if he would be concerned if he heard those reactions from his daughter, Sasha. I asked the same of Governor Christie, who still has 2 children in school. Wouldn't he be concerned if he heard these reactions from Patrick and Bridget? The governor doesn't have to worry about hearing these reactions from his children because they, too, are in private schools. I am not against a parent's personal decision to have his child attend private school, but President Obama and Governor Christie are isolated from the stress of having their children take these tests that are required by our public school children. Let's talk about technology. In a school I know of where the field test was given, the tests crashed constantly, so there was a tech person there the entire time. For the real test this year, I'm not sure how there will be enough technicians to fix all the problems that will most likely occur. A concern from teachers I have spoken to is the issue that their March and May lesson plans are disregarded. Because of the disruption in the daily schedule, they are wondering then when they will actually be able to do useful work with their students. In addition, these same teachers feel these tests are useless and inaccurate when evaluating themselves. All the tests do is measure a student's growth between March and May. So teachers basically have 3 weeks in April to give it their all. If these tests are meant to measure teacher effectiveness, the test should be administered in September and May. That would make more sense. I personally know of many teachers, students, and parents who got many of the practice test answers incorrect. I can attest to this because I am one of them. I can only imagine how students are going to perform when taking these tests. They're being set up to fail, which is extremely disturbing. I can't help but think about how all our students with IEPs are going to handle this, especially since I am a child study team member. These tests are going to destroy confidence and motivation and will leave too many children behind in the race to the top. Why is it that in 2010, 26 states were scheduled to give the PARCC? Now it's down to less than a dozen states. I hope this commission doesn't allow money to speak louder than our precious children of New Jersey. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Good evening, members of the Study Commission on Assessment and stakeholders. My name is Dr. Jennifer Ra, and I have my doctorate in school and clinical child psychology. Professionally, I work in a school as a school psychologist. I am also a mother of a 6-year-old son, 4-year-old daughter, and 1-year-old son. I am here to present some of my questions and concerns regarding the PARCC test. First, I would like to share a personal story. My 6-year-old son, who was in the first grade, came home one day, and I asked him how library was that day. He said, "Good. We are learning how to type on the computer because we have to take a test in the 3rd grade." I wanted to cry. I feel that my son's time in school can be much better used than training for the PARCC 2 years before it is even administered. What happened to the librarian reading a book to a class of 1st graders, or giving 1st graders time to look through books or read them if they are developmentally ready? At that moment, I vowed to find out more about how the PARCC will affect my children. I recently listened to an interview conducted by Jim Gerhardt on New Jersey 101.5 on January 23, 2015, with Dana Agretsky, a member of Governor Christie's Study Commission on Assessments, regarding the PARCC test. One of the things that she said regarding the PARCC is, quote, "For the first time ever, students and parents will know absolutely and unequivocally whether they are on time and on target for college and career," unquote. She did not cite any empirical research regarding this statement. In fact, there has been no research conducted on the PARCC to even look at validity, reliability, and control factors such as test anxiety, motivation, ability, poverty, lack of parental involvement, etc. On the PARCC website, there is a PARCC program evaluation memo dated April 25, 2014, that states that PARCC has planned a series of validity studies. These studies have not yet been conducted. Therefore, no conclusions can be made regarding the effectiveness of the PARCC as an evaluation tool for college and career readiness or teacher effectiveness. Currently, students should not be subjected to take the PARCC when there is not sufficient research to show that this test is even meaningful and additionally not harmful. Students are speaking out, saying that they hate school and they are stupid because they are failing the practice PARCC tests and the requirements of the Common Core, when often they are not even developmentally ready to learn these skills. I feel that the Common Core and PARCC are setting up our children, who are curious and eager to learn, for failure. We are crushing their interest and confidence, often at a very young age. If we keep this up, I feel that there will be an increase in dropout rates and a state full of children with low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, and poor decision-making skills. Dana Agretsky was also, I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, was also interviewed on WCTC 1450 Talk Radio on May 6, 2014, regarding a program, College Career Ready Academy, where she is a staff member. During that interview, Ms. Agretsky stated regarding the College Career Ready Academy, we aim, quote, "We aim to take about 250 of our most promising students and make sure they are as equipped as they possibly can for college, the competitive nature of admissions, and the workforce afterwards, because a lot of kids are smart, but smart doesn't mean ready, and we need to help them get ready," unquote. Not once during this interview was the PARCC deemed to be how we will determine if these students are ready. In fact, the PARCC was not even mentioned in this interview. I actually took away from this interview that even when smart kids pass the PARCC, it doesn't mean that they are college and career ready. When I looked up the College Career Ready Academy website, the program looks amazing. It states, quote, "Research indicates that the main reasons for low college graduation rates are that students have not worked hard enough in high school, have taken the wrong courses, or make other ill-considered decisions." Additionally, it states that the College Career Ready Academy, quote, uses the influence of businesses as future employers and shocking research to create a clear road to success. Unquote. Where is this shocking research? And does this research examine standardized testing like the PARCC? Nowhere on the website does it even mention the PARCC. Throughout the website, it uses words like practice leadership, decision-making, teamwork, creativity, taking direction, presentation, develop a design project, exhibit behavioral competencies, etc. None of these skills are measured on the PARCC. If these skills are required to be college and career ready, why aren't we asking that high schools take on this model? It seems that college and career readiness requires more than just earning a passing score on the PARCC. I oppose the misuse of standardized test scores. I oppose what the overemphasis on high-stakes testing is doing to our children and teachers. Weeks of instructional time is being lost to PARCC preparation and administration, and meaningful learning is not taking place. Depending on the school district, the PARCC is being administered for 6 weeks in 2 3-week increments, and for those 6 weeks, the school district will have delayed openings, 6 weeks of delayed openings so that a school district can administer the PARCC. In addition, in order to comply with the mandate of PARCC testing, schools must spend precious money, which is unfunded, on technology to accommodate the online PARCC tests, which do not have actual meaningful technological value. I feel that the PARCC is taking time and money away from other educational priorities. I feel that teachers are forced to teach the test. I feel that too much of the school year is spent preparing for the PARCC. I want to limit the number of hours of testing. I want test companies to disclose taxpayer-funded profits and disclose their political donations. I want to delay any decisions based on PARCC tests for at least 2 years until the results have been studied. I want transparency on high-stakes tests, including costs and uses of student data. I want parents to have the right to have their children opt out of the PARCC and other high-stakes standardized tests. As a parent, I want my children to be passionate about learning. I want them to be excited to go to school and be involved in learning that involves group discussions, character building, creativity, and hands-on experiences. I want my children to graduate from public school as well-rounded, productive, generous, creative, critically thinking, and determined citizens. I have questions about whether the Common Core and PARCC will play a positive role in my children's education. PARCC received its $186 million federal grant on the condition that at least 15 states participate in its testing work. There were originally 26 states participating. In January, as we know, Mississippi withdrew from the PARCC, making it the 16th state to withdraw. Currently, there are only 10 states plus D.C. participating in the PARCC. With all of the questions and concerns surrounding the PARCC, why is New Jersey still administering this test? If our goal is to ensure that after graduating from high school, students will contribute in a positive way to society in terms of work and social relationships, I am unclear as to how the PARCC will play a role in this goal. Maybe we should be creating more early childhood education programs and focusing on involving families in education at a child's early age. Maybe we should be focusing on student strengths and creating programs revolving around those strengths, not only academic-related programs, but trade or arts programs such as automotive, plumbing, art, music, computer technology, etc. Maybe we should be focusing more on community outreach programs and educating parents and improving quality of life for those in poverty. Maybe we should be creating more after-school programs to further build on student strengths or to help students who are having difficulty in school. In terms of improving our education system in general, I feel that you need to involve all stakeholders. Rather than giving millions or billions of dollars to testing agencies and corporations, a suggestion would be to ask stakeholders, ask questions about education and opinions about how people feel their schools are in their communities, and ask for suggestions on how to improve. I am hopeful that as a community, we can better develop ways of funding our children's education than through standardized testing. Thank you.
Stephanie Hartman and Claudio Niall.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Hartman. I appreciate you taking the time to hear from members of the public concerning the state of testing in today's school environment. In order to present full disclosure, I do want to let you know that I'm a member of a Board of Education, 7 to 12 district, but I'm here today strictly as a New Jersey educated individual who chose to live and raise her children in New Jersey primarily based on the education this state provides. I currently have a senior and a sophomore in high school, and I take great comfort that they are nearing the end of their time in the state education system because the new direction of never-ending testing is of great concern to me. While the conversation in education continues to focus on standards and testing, there is little focus on child development. It is certainly true that society today is different than 50, 60, or 70 years ago. Technology plays a major role in our everyday lives, and learning skills in this area are definitely important, but we ourselves have not yet become machines. Child development, brain development, and traditional skill acquisition have not had a major shift in all of this time. As a New Jersey student in the 1970s and 80s, I was subject to a schedule of testing in 4th grade, 8th grade, and a high school graduation test. Beyond that, I took PSAT, SATs a couple of times, and 3 AP tests as a senior in high school. My senior has had NJASC for 5 years, an algebra state test that no longer exists, a biology state test that is marginally impactful, the HESPA. He's taken the PSATs both as a sophomore and a junior, the SATs twice, 3 SAT subject tests, and by the time he graduates, he will have taken 5 AP tests between his courses in junior and senior year. The irony is that his testing experience is minimal to what the experienced students currently enrolled in elementary school will have by the time they graduate. In Executive Order number 159, the governor states, the PARCC assessment will measure student learning. I could not disagree more. We have all heard the phrase, a watched pot never boils. I think this notion is one that should be applied here to the testing system. True learning occurs over time. While skill acquisition can be measured in a snapshot, learning is a gradual process, and these 21st century skills that we seek for our students to acquire will not be learned overnight. Appendix 3 of the initial report illustrates a comprehensive assessment system. Formative assessments, end-of-the-unit assessments, and interim assessments are all quality, impactful, and necessary for learning to stay on track. Yearly state assessments only serve to curtail learning and take the focus away from what's happening in the classroom to the test. Between the start of this school year and now, at least one of my daughter's teachers has mentioned PARCC and the need for acquisition of certain knowledge for the test, no less than once a week. One of the greatest parts of the student learning experience is the organic process of learning. The spontaneous conversation, the spark that ignites unexpectedly, the room for a teacher to take a lesson in a different direction than anticipated, given the student's enthusiasm or intrigue, are all parts of the learning process that have been shrinking and shrinking from the student experience as testing has increased. The Common Core standards are designed to increase rigor, as well as hone skills such as problem solving, critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. If we truly believe that these new standards will enable our students to be better prepared for post-secondary education and/or the workforce, then we need to allow the standards to take hold, integrate them into the educational system, and ingrain themselves into the student experience fully. Testing for outcomes of the standards while the standards are being integrated is counterproductive for the process. I urge the Commission to stand for the continued excellence of education in New Jersey by returning to the essential marker tests, such as a 4th grade and 8th grade or 11th grade test, that give a true indication of a student's acquisition instead of the onerous yearly state testing. The greatest outcome for all of our students, regardless of their scores on any test, is a love of learning, a continued desire to learn, and the acknowledgement that learning is a lifelong process. In an ever-changing world, a person's ability to adapt and acquire new skills is vital. Make a decision to return the focus of the classroom from the student to the process of learning and away from the panic of state testing. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Claudio Niall. I am a Board of Trustee of the Riverdale Regional Board of Education. I am here today to speak as a mother, not as a board member. I'm going to tell you a story, so I ask that you bear with me. I have two boys, Tim, who is a high school senior, and Brendan, who is in 6th grade. My boys were 5.5 years apart, but due to where Brendan's birthday fell, he was 6 years behind in school. Having Tim as my oldest gave opportunities to Brendan that many children don't experience. Brendan went through school while he was in diapers. He was always at Roosevelt Elementary. I was able to bring with him to all school events from kindergarten to 6th grade. He was a class mascot. Teachers and administration welcomed them into their home. Brendan knew Roosevelt School inwards and out. He knew the teacher he wanted for every grade. He knew that Mr. M, a strict grader for grammar, and even though Mr. A was a tough teacher, he was a master teacher of social studies. He couldn't wait to get there and enjoy all the things his brother was experiencing. Now, at the time of Brendan's fairy tale thoughts of Roosevelt, Tim was down in the trenches, so to speak. Tim struggled as a student. He worked for hours at doing his homework and studying for tests. It wasn't his fault. It was who he is. He was a bundle of nerves who couldn't express himself and always stressed when it came time to take a test. As Tim's parents, we sold tests as the following. Spelling tests are needed because not everyone has a computer that has spell check. Math tests are needed so you know how much change to get back and how much of a tip to leave. Science was simple. You need to know where you come from. And being Irish Catholic, we don't like to talk about the birds and the bees. Sorry. Social studies, you need to know where your past was so you don't make the same mistakes for your future. And the winner of them all was the NJS. That's the test where you get a week off with no homework, and the afternoon was for you to do whatever you want. As Tim grew older, we noticed something. The NJS were taking hold of what was being taught in school, and testing was becoming something they prepped for. Tim made it through Roosevelt, and as he got older and more mature, the anxiety he had become more manageable on his part. Tim's fear of testing still remains today. Tim is graduating Riverdale in June and has been accepted to his #1 choice college. I feel his grade sat on the edge of the testing bubble and barely escaped unscathed. Now, on to Brendan. They say every child is different, and I am sure most of you sitting here today can agree to that. Brendan is smart, wise, an old soul, and has a bit of his mother's sass when needed. Those qualities make him the person he is. His only gripe about school is school itself. Roosevelt is not the school Brendan was a part of as a toddler and pre-K student. School is no longer fun. It is no longer the place to help students learn and gain real knowledge that will help them succeed in life. Mrs. M can't do her pizza fraction lesson because fractions are not taught that way in curriculum. Mrs. C can't read aloud to her class after lunch because she has no time. And the biggest change, besides no cupcakes, is the fact that everything taught is tested and graded. We don't even use the word test now. The new cool buzzword is assessment. Last year, we were having a shared curriculum meeting with our 2 sending districts, and Brendan was along for the ride. It was the middle of September, so school had just started. During the meeting, my superintendent, who knows Brendan well, was watching him with fascination and asked him, "What is it you're doing?" That's where my children said in front of his own superintendent, principal, and many other teachers and school administrators that he was practicing for an art assessment. He was being assessed on how he could draw something with his eyes shut from memory. My child was practicing this because he knew he was going to be graded on how well he could draw. How sad is this? Art in elementary school should be a place where a child could express themselves. I went to Catholic school back in the 70s and 80s. My idea of my art class was making cards for the nuns in the convent when they were sick. I never had the experience of using clay and learning how to shading techniques. Funny that Tim, who's only 6 years older, never had to take an art assessment. He was never graded, and I can't understand why you would grade somebody now. We want our kids to learn for the sake of learning. We want to enrich their minds so they can go out and make tomorrow's world better. Will there ever be an end to the constant back and forth between testing advocates and those against standardized testing? It's hard to say, but with relative concern, I think for better or worse, standardized testing are here to stay. Standardized testing has both positive and negative aspects, and when used effectively, can play a significant role in bettering the education of our students. The key, of course, is using them effectively, and that can only be done by balance. Those in charge need to take a step back and take into account both the good and the bad about testing and find a way to help students succeed. Now this state, along with many others, are left with a problem that needs fixing. We are now being challenged with taking the PARCC. The testing periods will leave school with 3 weeks to administer the assessments in their building. Double that now to 6 because we take the exam twice a year. We all remember what it was like taking the NJ Ask and having our students. Learning was quiet and everyone was on pins and needles. The teachers now, who are encouraged to infuse technology into their curriculum, can't, because their own computers are needed so Sally Sue can take her exam. So each class would stand to lose more than 6 weeks of learning. I guess my question is, where do you cut testing from? It is very easy for you to say to cut your own testing exams in school for students, but my child is going to need to know how to spell, and he is going to need to know how to be able to dissect a sentence. He's going to need to learn about the American Revolution. These are the tests and the assessments that are important. Teachers have talented gifts of teaching that have been taken away, and our students now live in a one-size-fits-all world of learning. I started off by saying that each child is different by providing them with continuous assessment models that you are all crazy about is only going to hinder their outcome of becoming life learners. I implore this panel to look at what is being done to our children. A person I respect and admire very much said that the New Jersey Department of Education is in total chaos. We have implemented too much at once. To best explain it, we are laying the tracks and the train is coming full speed. The only people that are going to get hurt are the children when the train derails off the tracks. Please consider, I do appreciate you listening and taking notes. I noticed a lot of you doing that, and I'm very appreciative of that as somebody who sat here and waited all this time. So I know you are taking us serious, but I would really appreciate you looking at this exam schedule and maybe curtailing it and saying it's not worth it for our kids. Thank you.